Fine. Thank you very much kwa sababu ya wakati huu ambao tumepata wa kumsifu Bwana na kuwa mbele zake katika kumwabudu. And I want to believe kila mmoja wetu amepata nafasi nzuri ya kuwa mbele zake Mungu. And our God is faithful. He has given us another opportunity to be in his house. Na ili tuweze kubarikiwa pamoja, na naamini ya kwamba tutabarikiwa. We are in Jeremiah chapter 27. Yeremia 27. So katika sura yake ya 26 tuliona the threat ambayo Yeremia alipewa na eventually wokovu ambao Mungu alimpatia, that he was not killed, and that should be kitu ambacho kinatutia nguvu ya kwamba Mungu asipokusudia haijalishi ni nani watakuinukia. You know, because the priests and the prophets were actually the people who were saying he needs to die, and he was speaking against the princes na wale ambao walikuwa ni watawala wa nchi wakati ule, lakini Mungu akamuokoa katika ile hali. Na tunapoingia katika sura yake ya 27 na 28 tunaona nabii ambazo wanazitoa kwa sababu ya mataifa. Katika sura yake 27 tunaona Mungu akimpatia unabii, na unabii huu unaungana na si unabii wa Juda peke yake, bali ni unabii wa Juda pamoja na mataifa mengine. Kuna kitu nilichosema siku ya Ijumaa na nikaituma katika mitandao, I think jana ama juzi, ya kwamba mtu anaporekebishwa na Mungu, patia Mungu ile nafasi ama ushirikiane pamoja naye kurekebisha huyo mtu, lakini usiungane pamoja na yeye kujaribu kuepuka yale marekebisho ambayo Mungu anayatoa. Na wanathiolojia wengi wanakubaliana ya kwamba sura hii ya 27, hawa mabarozi ambao walikuwa wametoka nchi tofauti tofauti na wamekuja hapa Yerusalemu, walikuwa wamekuja kuketi na Zedekia na ili wajadiliane ni vipi watakavyong'ang'ana na Nebukadneza mfalme wa Babiloni na waweze kumshinda. Lakini Mungu alikuwa ashanena ya kwamba Nebukadneza ni mtumishi wangu, anachokifanya ni kile ambacho mimi nimehitaji akifanye. Na kwa hivyo unapata ya kwamba hukumu ya Yuda inakuwa extended kwa Edom na falme zingine, kwa sababu ya kujaribu kushirikiana na Zedekia kuepuka ile adhabu ambayo ama ile discipline, marekebisho ambayo Mungu alikuwa anaitoa kwa wana wa Yuda. And that becomes very very important, ya kwamba sasa kwa sababu mmejishirikisha hapo, hata nanyi you will go under Babylon until not only Nebuchadnezzar, his son and his grandson. And when you're reading the book of Daniel, you can see those generations. You'll see Nebuchadnezzar, you'll see his son, and you'll also see his grandson, wakati ambapo wanaona mkono ukiandika na unasema mene tekeli, na huyo ni grandson wa Nebuchadnezzar, and the prophecy is fulfilled. Because something else we shall see in chapter 27 and 28 is Jeremiah speaking about how do we weigh, ni vipi ambavyo tupime unabii wa kweli na unabii usio wa kweli. Na unapata ya kwamba anamwambia huyu ni Hanania, tutaona akimwambia vile tutakavyojua kama unabii huo unaoutoa ambao ni wa furaha sana, ni wa ukweli, ni kama utatimia. Bwana asifiwe. The other thing ambayo tutaona ni ya kwamba Mungu anawaambia hawa mataifa pamoja na Yuda ya kwamba mkijisalimisha kwake Nebukadneza na kukubali kwa amani ya watawale, mtakuwa na maisha mazuri, mtaishi nchi vizuri. What is that speaking about? Inanena juu ya cooperating with God in discipline, ya kwamba Mungu anapokuelekeza, anapokuonyesha njia ndio hii, how much do you cooperate with him katika kukuelekeza hiyo. Sijui kama tutafika chapter 29 ambapo we have a letter ambayo inatumwa kwa hawa mateka wakiwa Babiloni, mahali ambapo wameshikwa mateka. Many of us love chapter 29 verse 11, but maybe what we have never known is that these words were not being spoken to people who are free. They were being spoken to people who were in slavery. Ni watu ambao walikuwa wameshikwa mateka, wanajiuliza ni mpaka lini tutakuwa hapa. Naye Mungu anawanenea, anawaambia Shadrach, Meshach na Abednego, mnaweza kutupwa kwa moto, mnaweza kufanywa nini, lakini hilo halitadumu sana. Kwa sababu nini? Kwa sababu nina mipango mizuri nanyi. Mipango ambayo si ya uharibifu, bali ni mipango ya kuwafanya mnawiri. Mungu anawanenea, anawaambia, this is the plan I have for you. Lakini anawaambia hapo mwanzoni ya kwamba kabla ya hiyo mipango yafikiwe, nchi mlio ndani yake muombe iweze kunawiri. Muombe iweze kwenda vizuri. Na inapoenenda vizuri, hata nanyi mnafurahia yale mazuri yanayotoka katika ile nchi. So God is telling them, don't be in a hurry. Yes, you are in slavery. You are not in the place that you would want to be, but don't be in a hurry. Build houses for yourselves. Let your sons marry, be married. Don't be in a hurry. But pray that that country prospers. Because in its prosperity, you will also prosper. But as you do that, remember, I have good plans for you. Praise the name of the Lord. So let us start from chapter 27. I hope we can go all the way to chapter 29 today and then see how far. I think this is the second last Friday of November. So that today is 20. So the next one is 27. So tukimaliza leo na next one, tutarudi tena January. So we will, hii hainini. Ili inione kichwa yote. Hivyo inaniona vizuri. Sawa. Thank you very much. So, tutaenda mpaka January. And therefore, it would be important to tuone mahali tutafika. We are just about half because there are 52 chapters. So we are just about half. Lakini the other chapters hazina mambo mengi sana ambayo yanafanya, and therefore itakuwa ni ya msaada. Ikikusumbua usijari, kuna hii ingine pia, so we will not have lost anything. We can use this one if this one doesn't work very well. So chapter 27. Chapter 27 is in the reign of Zedekiah. Na wakati mwingine ni vizuri kuelewa vile mambo yalivyojipanga, maana Jeremiah anaanza kuhubiri wakati wa mfalme Josiah anatawala, na alitawala miaka mingi, na anamaliza. Anaachia mtoto wake ambaye anaitwa let me see. I confuse Jehoiachin na Jehoiakim. But anaachia mmoja wao. Na mmoja wao anatawala for some time. Then Babyloni inakuja, inabeba, I think ni Jehoiakim, inambeba pamoja na mateka, na Babyloni inamweka Jehoiachin kuwa mfalme. Jehoiachin anakosa kucooperate na Nebuchadnezzar. Anapokosa kucooperate, kunakuwa na second carrying to exile. Ya kwamba kuna exile wa kwanza waliobebwa, then wa pili waliobebwa pamoja na mfalme, pamoja with they are called the nobles and the princes, wote wanabebwa pamoja. Jehoiachin pamoja na the mother king, who is the queen of the other king. So wanabebwa pamoja, na wanapobebwa mara ya pili, Nebuchadnezzar sasa anamuweka Zedekiah, na Zedekiah at the beginning anakuwa cooperating pamoja na yeye. Ana cooperate na mfalme wa Babylon, but after a while pia na yeye anaanza kuwa influenced na mataifa haya mengine. And where we are reading now, mataifa haya mengine yanakuja na wanataka kujoin forces na ili waweze kuona if they can conquer the king of Babylon. But what you realize is that the king of Babylon, like the Bible is telling us, is a servant of God. Ni Mungu ambaye anatumia Nebuchadnezzar kuweza kurekebisha Juda. Na kwa hivyo hakuna uwezo wa kumshinda Mungu. So that if you contend with Nebuchadnezzar, you are actually contending with God himself. Praise the name of the Lord. Because God has declared that Nebuchadnezzar is my servant. My servant, not because he has submitted to me. There's a difference between, like ile tulisema, and I think I explained both servant ile ya Paulo, and a servant ambaye sio yeye amejitoa kwa kuwa servant, lakini ni Mungu amechagua kumtumia. Like when he decides to use a donkey to speak to, is it Barak or Balaam? Ni Mungu anachagua, nitatumia hii puda ikuwe mtumishi wangu. That is how, and the Bible is clear. The Bible says everything serves him. And kwa hivyo Nebuchadnezzar is serving God not because he has volunteered and committed himself, but because God has decided that he is the tool and the instrument, and in his sovereignty he will use him to discipline Judah. But we read and we saw that even as he does that, God will be watching over them. He will be their God, and he will eventually restore them. And that is very, very important for us to take note. So this is now in the early reign of Zedekiah. Jehoiachin only reigned for about 3 months. Akaja akachukuliwa akabebwa tena. Na sasa ni Zedekiah ambaye ni mfalme, na yeye pia ni brother ya hao wengine ambao wamebebwa. He is also a son of Josiah, king of Judah. This word came to Jeremiah from the Lord. This is what the Lord said to me. Make a yoke out of straps and crossbars and put it on your neck. And we said this is practical prophecy, where God decides that words seem now not to be working. They seem not to be getting the message deep. But as God, I really want my people to get the message. So do this, do it practically, that they may see. And we see that a lot in the book of Jeremiah. We know we have seen him going to the potter's house. We have seen him being told, buy a belt and then put it on your loins, and then go put it afar off and hide it, then go pick it up. This is practical. You know, God is using practical things to bring the message home. And there are some preachers who are very good at that. I remember a friend of mine, he has been here, Reverend Jeff. And Reverend Jeff was very good at doing this practical preaching. That when he goes even to a crusade, atahubiri practically, atafanya hayo mambo practically. Wakati mwingine utapata amevaa shati imeraruka na anaonyesha na anaelekeza, and that message really gets into the hearts of people. Bwana asifiwe. And that is the same way sometimes when we were young we used to use skits. Sijui zilienda wapi na drama. Tulikuwa tunafanya drama sana kanisani. I still remember tukifanya drama ya mtoto mpotevu, and then as a young child I would never forget. Maybe our director, our children ministry, Aris, ataangalia, because you find people used to do those dramas and the skits, and so Jeremiah is being told, act it. And so anaambiwa enda utengeneze a yoke, nira, na uiwekelee kwa kichwa chako, and put it on your neck. Then said a word to the king of Edom, Moab, and Ammon, Tyre and Sidon, through the envoys who have come to Jerusalem to Zedekiah, king of Judah. And I was saying, it is shown historically that one of the reasons why they most probably had come, these, you see, hapa kuna Edom, Moab, Ammon, Tyre and Sidon, these are 5 kingdoms, ni kwa sababu walikuwa wameona Nebuchadnezzar was becoming very strong. Na walikuwa wamekuja kunegotiate na kuongea ni vipi ambavyo tutang'ang'ana na huyu Nebuchadnezzar. Naye Jeremiah akapewa ujumbe, akaambiwa enda kwao. Maybe they are in the Paris, their state house then. Enda huko ukiwa umevalia. It's, you know, sometimes carrying this gospel is difficult. Bwana asifiwe. Wakati mwingine unaambiwa lazima ufanye mambo mengine magumu sana ili uweze kutimiza kile ambacho Mungu amekutuma kufanya. And you know, you look at prophets even like Hosea and the rest, and it can be challenging. And God gives instructions. And I hope we as the servants of God hear the instructions. Now so he has told, go to them, they have come to Zedekiah king. Give them a message for their masters and say, so wapatia huu ujumbe, wawapelekea, ni mabarozi wamefika, wapatia huu ujumbe, wawapelekea wafalme wa hizo nchi, na uambia kwamba, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel says. So 2 things there. One is that he is the God Almighty. He is sovereign. He is the one who reigns over all the earth. It doesn't matter kama Sidon mna Mungu wenu. It doesn't matter kama Tyre mna Mungu wenu. It doesn't matter kama Moab mna Mungu wenu mnayemwabudu. Lakini sikizeni, kuna Mungu mfalme wa wafalme na ako na ujumbe kwa sababu yenu. Na yeye pia ni Mungu wa Israeli. Na anasema hivi, tell this to your masters. With my great power and outstretched arm, I have made the earth and its people, and the animals that are on it, and I give to anyone I please. God here is speaking about his sovereignty. He is speaking about, this is who I am, and this is what I can do. So he is introducing himself to people who have no idea who he is. People who may even never have heard of him. And he is telling them, that number one, I have great power. Praise the name of the Lord. And we must always remember that. He is telling these people who may have no idea of who God is, that I have great power. Number two, I have an outstretched arm. This is an image. This does not mean that it is his hand that is outstretched. It simply means that his power is able to reach every corner of the world. He is talking about his omniscient nature. There are more, no, omniscient in terms of knowledge, but omnipotent in terms of all powerful. That number one, my hand is everywhere, so I'm able to know and see. But number two, I'm so powerful, I'm in every corner of the world. So don't think that I'm only in Judah, because that was the limitation that they may have thought about. And was the limitation even when you see Jesus coming and meeting the woman at the well, and there is the talk about you worship in the mountains, we worship in Jerusalem, and that is also there within the African culture, where you'll find their thinking their God is on Mount Kenya, and therefore they have to go there, they have to go around Mount Kenya and do those things. But he's saying, I'm all over, I'm everywhere. I'm not only here in Jerusalem. So when you go back to Edom, when you go back to Tyre, when you go back to tell them that I am doing this with my outstretched arm. Outstretched to mean that I am able to reach there. I'm able to reach them wherever they are. They can't hide from me. Praise the name of the Lord. It is David who says in Psalm 139 that where ninaweza kujificha wapi niondoke katika uwepo wako. Hakuna uwezekano. Na ndiposa mimi husema ya kwamba tusije tukadhania na kufikiria ya kwamba mahali hapa ambapo ni kanisani ni kama ndipo Mungu yupo. Na kwa hivyo tunapofika hapa tunakuja na hofu mingi, tunakuja na kunyenyekea kwingi, tunakuja na kujitakaza kwingi, lakini tukiwa manyumbani, tukiwa sokoni, tukiwa mahali kwingine hatuna mambo yale. Lakini vizuri tujue ya kwamba Mungu wetu yupo kila mahali. And that is what the outstretched hand means, that he is present everywhere. And therefore, when you go back to your masters, tell them that number one, I'm very powerful. I have great power. And number two, that my arm is outstretched. What does that mean? I am able to do things all over the earth. I'm able to do things everywhere. Praise the name of the Lord. And I'm not limited. I'm not limited. So that even, there are times when even people who are not born again will do things and say, me, I am an atheist. I don't believe in God. Your God cannot do anything to me because I don't believe in him. But that is not true. Our God is all powerful, and number two, his arm is outstretched. It is able to reach beyond what people think that it can reach. And he is able to get into even lives of people who are not born again and deal with them as he desires and as he seems fitting. I made the earth and its people and the animals that are on it. He is introducing himself. That I am the creator. The simplest way to understand God. Praise the name of the Lord. But I want to believe we who are born again, tumeondoka hiyo level. Hiyo level ya general revelation ambayo ni ya kumwelewa Mungu kama creator. Lakini hawa ambao hawajaamini, one of the easiest way for them to understand God is that I am the creator. Why? These things we see must have come from somewhere. Because when you study revelation, there is what is called general revelation. And when I talk about revelation, I'm talking in terms of getting to know God. Kumfahamu Mungu, kumjua Mungu. There is what the theologians call general revelation, and there is what is called specific revelation. General revelation is, if we observe, tunaona nini? Tunaona mimea, tunaona jua imewaka, tunaona mvua inanyesha, tunaona nyota zinatokea usiku, tunaona mwezi duo huo. Hayo ni mambo ambayo ni general, lakini yanatupatia ufahamu wa Mungu muumbaji na mwenye nguvu. Lakini wewe kama muumini, as you mature and grow in your faith, you need to come from general revelation and get into what we call specific revelation. You start having revelation of God in very specific terms. You start hearing him. You start walking with him. You start understanding his grace. You start understanding his mercies and judgment. You start understanding his leading and guidance. That is specific revelation. But since these are people who may have no understanding of God, then God introduces himself from that generic level of I am the creator of all the things that are on the earth. And the other thing is that I give it to anyone I please. That if I'm the one who created, then I am able to give these things. I'm able to give the earth and also the things that are therein to whoever I wish. Mwenye nataka kupatia mimi nampatia. Kwa sababu mimi ni Mungu ambaye ndiye aliyeziumba. And therefore I have reign. And he is talking about his sovereignty, and we have talked about the sovereignty of God in this place before. Now I will give all your countries into the hands of my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. I'll make every wild animal subject to him. The reason why God introduces the issue of wild animals, he is saying that is how far I will go. Bwana asifiwe. Because wild animals are generally not under the rule or the reign of human beings. Wanadamu sisi tuko hapa, hatuna nguvu ya kuambia simba wewe usikule yule swala. Simba anafanyaga chenye anataka. Nyati anafanyaga chenye anataka. Elephant anafanyaga chenye anataka. Lakini Mungu anasema ya kwamba sio watu peke yake nitapatiana kwa Nebukadneza. Nebukadneza huyo mmekuja kuzungumza vile mtakavyomshinda kwa nguvu zangu, na mpatia mamlaka ya ulimwengu wote. Na kwa hivyo ujumbe ninao wapatia ni huu: mnapopingana na Nebukadneza, ni mimi mnayepingana na yeye. Ni mimi mnayepingana na yeye. That as you stand and fight against Nebuchadnezzar, it's me that you're fighting against. Because I am the one who is using him. And that is what we need to understand as believers and the children of God. That God can use many, many things to pass a message or to discipline and to guide us. And we must walk with discernment, na ili tusije tukafika mahali ambapo tunang'ang'ana na Mungu na kumbe tunafikiri ya kwamba tunang'ang'ana na mambo ya ulimwengu huu. Thinking that we are fighting against Nebuchadnezzar, kumbe tunang'ang'ana naye Mungu. So God tells them, now it's not only, you see here the shift now. Initially, the judgment was for Judah. Judah is the one that was to be punished through being taken to Babylon. But now these 5 kingdoms also have been brought under that judgment. All nations will serve him and his son and his grandson until the time for his land comes. Then many nations and great kings will subjugate him. So God is saying, and it's, the beauty of prophecy is that you can confirm it. That if you go to the book of Daniel, you can confirm these words. That all these nations served Nebuchadnezzar, served his son, and served his son's son, his grandson, until the time comes. And what was the time? We saw it before. It was 70 years, and we shall see it later in chapter 29. It was to be 70 years. It was to be 70 years. So he continues. If, however, any nation or kingdom will not serve Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, or bow its neck under his yoke, I'll punish that nation with a sword, famine, and plague, declares the Lord, until I destroy it by his hand. What is God saying? That I have communicated my will to you. It is now your duty to subject or to put yourself in my will. Nimekuambia mapenzi yangu ni gani? Na mapenzi yangu ni yapi? Mapenzi yangu ni haya: ya kwamba kwa miaka 70 falme hizi zote zitumikia mfalme Nebukadneza. Sasa chaguo ni lako. Chagua kumtumikia Nebukadneza ama kutomtumikia. Unapochagua kumtumikia Nebukadneza ama kutomtumikia, kile unachofanya, unachagua kujitoa kwa mapenzi yangu ama kutotimiza hayo mapenzi yangu. Ukitimiza mapenzi yangu, hata kama yanaonekana yakiwa magumu, utakuwa na usalama. Usipotimiza mapenzi yangu, hata kama unaona kama hiyo ndio itakuwa ni usalama wako, utajipata katika shida. And that is why there's somebody who said you can make a choice in terms of what action you take, but you can never choose the consequences that follow you. And last Friday, I talked about God's statements that have if and then they have then. If you do this, then this will happen. This is such kind of a statement. That this is my will, and God has given us choice. And I want to say that decision making and choices are very central. There's a concept I'm developing, and most probably I'll teach it here, but I'll be teaching it somewhere on the Saturday of 28th. And this is a concept of purpose-driven decision making. And when I say purpose-driven decision making, it starts by discerning the purpose of God over every aspect of your life. And then when you discern the purpose of God over every aspect of your life, then you make every decision in line with that purpose, which is divine, ambayo Mungu amekuonyesha. That what is the divine purpose of God for my children? What is the divine purpose of God for my marriage? What is the divine purpose of God for my business? What is the divine purpose of God for my job? What is the divine purpose of God for everything that I do? And then when I identify that divine purpose, then I'll make every decision. For example, if I know that the divine purpose of God for my marriage, me and my wife, is that we live at peace, without conflicting, without kuinukiana, then that informs my decisions when my wife offends me. That if my wife does something and I feel it has annoyed me, my decision on how I react should be informed by the purpose that I have already identified as the purpose of God for us. And if the purpose of God is for us to coexist peacefully, then what will happen is that as I evaluate the alternatives I have, I will choose the alternative that fits within the divine purpose of God. Praise the name of the Lord. And maybe you'll have time maybe to look at that and see it. So that nikikanyangwa kidore, how do I choose how to respond? So God is telling them, this is how things are. The beauty of God, he tells you, you can make this decision, you can make this decision. This decision has these consequences, and this decision has these consequences. Sometimes when we are told these things, we think people are harsh. Sometimes people, I know, not you, you guys think I'm a very good person, and I'm a very good person. And I'm likable. But there are people who have sometimes have had to work with me over certain things and decisions they have to make, sometimes think I'm very harsh. Because I tell them plainly that you can choose this path, and this is what you get. And if you choose this path, this is what you get. You know, sometimes a girl will come to me and tell me, oh, I love this guy so much, he's such a good guy. And I tell them, let me tell you the truth. You love him, true. But look here, he'll only have sex with you for a few times, and after that he'll dump you and go to the next person. And he says, Pastor, you're too harsh. Pastor, you are not positive. And I tell the person, I wish I would be positive. Like Jeremiah is telling some false prophet here, that I wish I was positive, but I have to tell you the reality. You are born again, this guy is not born again. Your values are different with this guy. This guy will never marry you. But he says we would have a beautiful life. No, you won't have a beautiful life. He knows you are a virgin. He knows you have not had sex before, and he wants to have sex with you. And he will have sex with you 4 or 5 times, and after he has done that, you will never see him again. Or if you get pregnant, he will run away from you. So please, stay away. Stay away. Don't go near him. Because if I tell you stay away from this guy, and I don't tell you what the consequences are, then I'm not helping you, because you don't see the weight of the matter. So that if you choose to continue with this guy, then it is at your own risk. You already know the then of if. Praise the name of the Lord. And that is how our God does things. That is how our God does things. And I've tried to use that example because it's an example I've used before. And I have seen some who have listened to my counsel and changed and enjoyed the fruits of listening to counsel. I've seen others who have defied my counsel and have seen, of course, they always will come back to me in tears. But I'll always help them. But that is the challenging thing with being a pastor and sometimes being a mentor, that you will tell people exactly, don't follow this route. And then they will stay away from you. They'll follow the route that you told them not to follow. Then a few months later, they'll come back to you crying and seeking that you help them. And you still help them. What do you do? God has put you there to help them and to help them heal. Praise the name of the Lord. I need to move faster now. If, however, any nation or kingdom will not serve Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, verse 8, or bow its neck under his yoke, I'll punish that nation with a sword, famine, and plague, declares the Lord, until I destroy it by his hand. So that is simply telling you can never run away from the discipline of the Lord. So the best thing is to submit yourself to the discipline of the Lord. He continues, so do not listen to your prophets, your diviners, your interpreters of dreams, your mediums, or your sorcerers, who tell you, you will not serve the king of Babylon. They prophesy lies to you that will only serve to remove you far from your lands. I will banish you and will perish. But if any nation will bow its neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon and serve him, I'll let that nation remain in its own land, to till it and to live there, declares the Lord. You can see the difference in the judgment that God gives to Judah and to these nations. To Judah, it is anybody who submits to the king of Babylon and is carried away to Babylon remains safe. Praise the name of the Lord. For these kingdoms, they don't have to be carried away. They are given the option of subjecting or submitting to the reign of the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, and God will allow them to remain in their land. So that is the difference in terms of the judgment that God is giving. And he is saying, if you allow yourself to be subject to the king of Babylon, what will happen is that I will allow you to remain in your land and to till it and to enjoy the fruits thereof. But this is my condition. Be subject to the king of Babylon. Praise the name of the Lord. If you are not, you'll be finished. You'll be killed. The sword, the famine, and the plague. And then at the end of the day, the king of Babylon will still do it to you. So that is the difference in the two judgments. But it's simply saying, know my will, submit yourself to my will, and you will enjoy. And that is it, brethren. Every time when you listen to the word of God, what the word of God is doing, it is revealing the will of God over your life. So if you hear the word has pricked your heart, has touched a certain area of your life, ya kwamba kuna mahali imekuguza na imekukanya, kubali ikukanye na ili uweze kuenjoy the benefits of obeying. And that is why I'll keep insisting, and I think it's a major theme of Jeremiah, that the word is spoken for obedience purposes. That when we know the will of God, we obey that will. I gave the same message to Zedekiah, king of Judah. I said, bow your neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon. Serve him and his people, and you will live. Why will you and your people die by the sword, famine, and the plague, with which the Lord has threatened in a nation that will not serve the king of Babylon? Do not listen to the words of the prophets who say to you, you will not serve the king of Babylon, for they are prophesying lies to you. I have not sent them, declares the Lord. They are prophesying lies in my name. Therefore I'll banish you, and you will perish, both you and the prophets who prophesy to you. Something just simple as we think about that, and that is that the way to measure prophecy is not how positive it is. You know, sometimes people will listen to you and say, you are a prophet of doom. My God doesn't. But here God is saying, this is what I want you to do. I want you to surrender to the king of Babylon and serve him. Praise the name of the Lord. Those who are giving you positive, because many of us would want to say amen. If you are going through a desert moment, a wilderness moment, and some of you could be going through a hard time, and then I come and tell you, the Lord is going to deliver you very fast. Nikwambie, hii wiki kabla iishe, Mungu atakutendea jambo. Utasema amen haraka sana. Bwana asifiwe. Na utapokea kwa haraka. Lakini nikija nikwambie, na sometimes hizi ndizo prophecies zile ngumu kutoa. I think on Friday I told you, kuna prophecies zingine Mungu anatupatiaga, unashindwa sasa huyu mtu nitamwambia ama nisimwambie. Nikija nikwambia kwamba ni ukweli, haujakuwa na kazi kwa miaka hii miwili, na Mungu anasema bado miaka 7 bado utangangana hivyo hivyo. Ya kwamba hii desert time yako haiishi haraka. lakini Mungu bado anakupenda. Taniangalia useme this is a prophet of doom. Lakini mwingine akija akwambie ya kwamba na wiki mbili tu itaisha, because that's what, and God is telling Zedekiah, tafadhali usisikize maneno ambayo unaambiwa na hawa manabii wa uongo wanaokuambia miaka miwili, mwaka mmoja. Miaka 70 lazima itaisha. Bwana asifiwe. Lakini Mungu anasema ukijisalimisha utakuwa na usalama. Bwana asifiwe. Ukijisalimisha utakuwa na usalama na Mungu atakupatia ushindi. So you don't weigh prophecy by how positive it is. You weigh prophecy by more things than being positive. That no matter how positive it is, it might not be the Lord. Because these guys are giving the kings some very positive things that go against what Jeremiah is saying. But God is saying, those guys are lying to you. Verse 16. Then I say to the priests and all these people, this is what the Lord says. Do not listen to the prophets who say, very soon, now the articles from the Lord's house will be brought back from Babylon. You see how positive that prophecy is. Because when Nebuchadnezzar came, I think especially the second time, he carried away some of the articles of the temple. And these are the ones that the grandson are enjoying with in the book of Daniel when they had rights on the wall. And it's a good prophecy that the articles of the house of the Lord will be brought back. Bwana asifiwe. And everybody would say, wow, the Lord is coming for us. But Jeremiah is saying, hazirudi haraka. Hazirudi haraka hivyo mnafikiria. Na anasema, huo ndio unabii ambao Mungu unatoka kwake Mungu. Do not listen to them. Serve the king of Babylon and you will live. Bwana asifiwe. And that is why it is very, very important for us to understand the perfect will of God. Because the perfect will of God might sometimes not, we are living in times when what people will talk about is positivity, speak positive things when you rise up in the morning, don't meditate on anything negative, but some things that the Lord might be telling you might not be as positive as you may want to think. Bwana asifiwe. Like, it would not have been positive to think that we'll be under Babylon for 70 years. And it would be positive to talk like these prophets who are saying 2 years and the articles will be back and the yoke will be broken. But God is saying, listen to me. Brethren, I pray and I talk to you about the Holy Spirit and his function of revealing. That the Holy Spirit would reveal to us what the will of God is. That we may align ourselves to that will of God. They are prophesying lies to you. Do not listen to them. Serve the king of Babylon and you will live. Why should this city become a ruin? If they are prophets and have the word of the Lord, let them plead with the Lord Almighty that the articles remain in the house of the Lord and in the palace of the king of Judah and in Jerusalem not to be taken to Babylon. So, Jeremiah is saying that God has the ability to prevent these articles from being carried away to Jerusalem, to Babylon. Bwana asifiwe. And if these prophets are truthful and powerful, why didn't they seek the Lord so that the articles would not be taken away? Lakini kwa sababu ni Mungu mwenyewe amechagua. Bwana asifiwe. Because God can never be overtaken in our lives. There are times when things happen in our lives and we feel like God has been overtaken by things. Like Mungu ameshindwa kabisa. Ya kwamba hizi vikombe zimebebwa kwa sababu Mungu ameshindwa kuzuia zibebwe. Lakini Yeremia anasema hata kama mambo haya yanatendeka yanaonekana yakiwa unpleasant, ni Mungu ameruhusu yafanyike. Ni Mungu ameruhusu vikombe hivyo vibebwe. Bwana asifiwe. Na kwa hivyo lazima msikize vile yeye mwenyewe anavyosema. For this is what the Lord Almighty says about the pillars, the bronze sea, the movable stud, and the articles that are left in this city, which Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon did not take away when he carried Jehoiachin, son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon, along with all nobles of Judah and Jerusalem. So that is during the second raid. Yes, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says about the things that are left in the house of the Lord and in the palace of the king of Judah and Jerusalem. They will be taken to Babylon, and there they will remain until the day I come for them, declares the Lord. Then I'll bring them back and restore them to this place. Bwana asifiwe. Without getting into too much details, what Jeremiah is saying is that God is in control. Bwana asifiwe. God is in control. That there is a second raid that is coming. During that second raid, everything that had not been carried away will be carried away. And when it is carried away, God promised he will watch over them. He will keep them. And then later on, he will restore them. Praise the name of the Lord. And why I think maybe one of the reasons why God decided that they will be carried away might be so that, because there's a time when even the temple will be destroyed, the palace will be destroyed. You remember when Nehemiah is serving the king, he hears the reproach that is going on. Of course, the first return is the return of Zerubbabel and Ezra. You remember? We talked about that when going through the book of, is it Revelation? Even Nehemiah. So Zerubbabel and Ezra are coming back to rebuild the temple that is already destroyed. So one of the reasons why maybe God decided that the articles should be carried away is that when the temple is being destroyed and burnt down, because God is omniscient, he knows that, is so that these things may not be destroyed together with the temple. Because when Zerubbabel comes back and he tries to rebuild the temple, he gets to a certain level and they go out of resources and they have nothing else to rebuild. And that is why in the book of Zechariah later, when Zerubbabel is being told, no, go back to the work. And Zerubbabel is thinking, I tried doing this work and I was unable to do it because there was not enough material. Then the Bible says, said this word to Zerubbabel, that the people will be happy when they see Zerubbabel with a plumb line. Why? Because he's carrying the plumb line to go and rebuild. But tell him this, that it is not by power nor by might, but by my spirit, says the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. Because Zerubbabel is thinking, how will I rebuild this temple? I tried and I couldn't. The materials went out. I was unable to do it. God is now saying, it is not by your power this time. It is not by your spirit this time. It is not by your strength. It is by my spirit that the temple will be rebuilt. Praise the name of the Lord. Nehemiah is also going back when the walls have been burnt and destroyed. And therefore these articles are taken away slightly before that destruction takes place. And Bible history is sweet. You know, I'm just trying to touch here and there because we don't have enough time. But sometimes when you look at this history, I love Bible history. I think when I start doing my PhD, I'll do it in Christian history. Because Christian history is very nice. Because the beauty of Christian history or biblical history is that there's a way things tie together. There's a way things, you pick something here from this generation, something here from this generation, something that happens here, you bring them together and you see a beautiful picture of what God was doing. Praise the name of the Lord. And our lives are like that. It's only that sometimes we are very negative. We are very negative. I don't know whether you've ever seen some games that children play, that all the pieces are cluttered all over. And then the kids start putting them together, finding where this one fits, and then by the time that kid is finishing, a beautiful picture is displayed. Praise the name of the Lord. And that is how sometimes our lives are. That there is a lack here, there is a trouble here, kuna kudhihakiwa hapa, kuna kufanyiwa hivi hapa, mwaka fulani ukafanyiwa hivi, ukaenda kutafuta hii ukanyimwa, ukaenda hapa, lakini unapata ya kwamba baada ya miaka kadhaa, and that is why I love reflecting over my life. Baada ya miaka kadhaa, unapoanza kuwaza na kureflect on your life, the pieces just start coming together. The pieces just start coming together. The pieces just start coming together. And you see a beautiful picture of what God was doing with your life. Praise the name of the Lord. And that is why when you're studying the book of Jeremiah, you also have the book of Isaiah in perspective. You have the book of Nehemiah in perspective. You have the book of Zechariah in perspective. You have all these prophetic books which are either pre-exile, during the exile, post-exile. You are looking at all of them together. There is a way they fit together. There's a way they fit together. They fit to each other. The book of Daniel. And you look at all of them, you see the picture of what God was doing. And it is a beautiful picture. Praise the name of the Lord. So I advise you. That is why sometimes it's good to get yourself a commentary, because some of these historical tying together of historical events might not be there as you just read the Bible. But scholars have done a lot of studies. They have put a lot of time into compiling these, and so when you are using those materials are not replacing, like I've always said, the Spirit of God in terms of understanding the Word, but they are bringing to you the beauty of all these things. Praise the name of the Lord. So very, 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 very beautiful. Our time is really going fast. Chapter 28. In the 5th month of the same year, the 4th year, are in the reign of Zedekiah, so 27 and 28 are happening around the same time. The prophet Hananiah, son of Azul, who was from Gibeon, said to me in the house of the Lord, in the presence of the priests and all the people. So he brings that out to tell us this is something that is happening in the public. Kingangani. So it's happening in the public. Watu wote wako hapo. It is a scene. And you will see how it happens. And sometimes the other beauty of studying the word is when you get a pictorial, unapata picha ya hilo jambo likitendeka. Allow your imagination to work when you are reading the Bible. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. I'll break the yoke of the king of Babylon within 2 years. I'll bring back to this place all the articles of the Lord's house that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, removed from here and took to Babylon. I'll also bring back to this place Jehoiachin, son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and all the other exiles from Judah who went to Babylon, declares the Lord. For I'll break the yoke of the king of Babylon. You can see that this prophecy is directly refuting or negating ile prophecy ambayo Jeremiah ametoa. Jeremiah amesema mtamtumikia Nebukadnezar na mtoto wake na mjukuu wake. Na alikuwa amesema tayari ni miaka 70. Lakini huyu sasa anampata Yeremia katika hekalu kumhumiliate, just to raise a confrontation, na anamwambia Yeremia, Mungu amesema hivi, miaka ni miwili, wacha kuambia watu miaka 70. Miaka ni miwili. So you can see the opposition when you're serving God. Many times you will find opposition. Bwana asifiwe. And that is why I've always said that opposition does not mean that God is not together with you. And sometimes things being smooth and positive and flowing well is not also an evidence that God is together with you and things are moving very well. You must be able to tell very clearly what the will of God is, so that you don't mislead the occurrences, the things that are happening, so that you don't get into a business na mambo ikianza kuwa magumu kwa ile biashara useme maybe Mungu haku anataka nifanye hii biashara. So that you don't get married to a man and then muanze kupata challenges katika ile doa, then uanze kusema maybe Mungu alitaka niolewe na mtu mwingine sio huyu. Challenges na opposition sio indicator ya kwamba Mungu hayupo pamoja na wewe. Bwana asifiwe. Maana Jeremiah is being opposed to the face, but God is together with him. Then the prophet Jeremiah replied to the prophet Hananiah before the priests and all the people who are studying in the house of the Lord. I like the courage of Jeremiah, but I believe one thing. This courage is only informed and facilitated by God. Mungu alimuguza na kaa katika mdomo wake na akamwambia utasema tu yale maneno ambayo nitakwambia. Ndugu na dada, kama kuna kitu hurahisisha huduma katika nyumba yake Mungu, ni kuwa na ufahamu na confidence nega iwaje tire. It is God who called me. Praise the name of the Lord. I'm telling you, if you are in ministry and you don't know that God really called you, you'll quit in the morning. Asubuhi kabla ufanye chochote. Lakini ukiwa na ujasiri na unajua ya kwamba ni Mungu aliniita na aliniita ni hudumu hapa, na kuambia ujasiri utakuwa nao, hata ukipingwa utaweza kusimama. And I believe that is the courage that is informing the way Jeremiah is responding. So he said, Amen. May the Lord do so. May the Lord fulfill the words you have prophesied by bringing the articles of the Lord's house and all the exile back to this place from Babylon. Nevertheless, this man is very wise. Hampingi, hamwabii, oh hapana, wewe ni wa shetani, wewe unahubiri. Anamwambia vile umesema ni mambo mazuri na ningetamani yafanyike. Lakini, nevertheless, listen to what I have to say. In your hearing and in the hearing of all the people. From early times, the prophets who preceded you and me have prophesied war, disaster, and plague against many countries and great kingdoms. But the prophet who prophesies peace will be recognized as one truly sent by the Lord, only if his prediction comes true. Praise the name of the Lord. And Jeremiah here is telling this guy, ambaye anaitwa nani? Hanania, mwana wa Azuri. He is telling him that the only true measure of whether a prophecy is truthful or not truthful is its fulfillment. Bwana asifiwe. Na kwa hivyo haijalishi how positive it is, haijalishi, as long as it doesn't get fulfilled, it is not truthful. And people have prophesied, including countries. People have prophesied who will become president, even in our country, who will become what, who will become what. At the end of the day, the only way to rule whether that prophecy was truthful or not truthful is, did it happen? Did it come true? Praise the name of the Lord. And Jeremiah knows that this prophecy will not come true. Then the prophet Hananiah took the yoke off the neck of the prophet Jeremiah and broke it. Look at the confrontational nature of Hananiah and the humility and the nature of how Jeremiah approaches it. So Hananiah comes after Jeremiah have spoken about these guys being under the yoke under Nebuchadnezzar, his son and his grandson. And he tells him, no, that is a lie. You know, this is what will happen. Jeremiah, with humility and wisdom from God, says, amen. I wish it comes true. And you know, you and me know, we have been prophets. There are many prophets who have prophesied. But the only way to measure prophecy is if it comes true. Then Hananiah, instead of engaging with Jeremiah in a simple way, he takes the yoke, ile yoke ambayo Jeremiah alikuwa ametengeneza from Jeremiah's neck, na anaivuja-vuja. I'm seeing a confrontation. I'm seeing a guy who is really doing this, you know, when I put this picture in my mind. So akaivuja-vuja. And he said, before this people, this is what the Lord says, in the same way I'll break the yoke of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, off the neck of all the nations within 2 years. At this, the prophet Jeremiah went on his way. Bwana asifiwe. You know, he's saying, I'm not willing to waste time with you. I'm not willing to shida tukipingana na wewe. Bwana asifiwe. And that is the beauty. When you speak the word of God, have you delivered it? Yes. God is able to defend his word. God is able to defend himself. You don't have to be there to defend that word for him. So Jeremiah hakushida akingangana na yeye, hakushida akimwambia, wewe unajua nimefanya kazi gani kutengeneza hii kitu, na halafu unakuja unaharibu. The Bible says he walked away. Praise the name of the Lord. Once you go and declare the word, and they have heard the word, na wanajaribu kupingana na wewe, don't waste your time, just walk away like Jeremiah. After the prophet Hananiah had broken the yoke of the neck of prophet Jeremiah, the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. Go and tell Hananiah, this is what the Lord says. So now Jeremiah ameondoka yeye, hajipigani, hajitetei. Then anapoenda, Mungu anamwambia, maana ni mimi unatumikia, niko na neno, ningetaka urejee umwambie Hanania. Bwana asifiwe. Kwa nini? Hanania alihukumiwa tayari. Amehukumiwa kwa sababu ya matendo haya. Na ni vizuri sana, if you are not sure, usiende ukipingana na mtu wa Mungu. Usiende ukibishana sana na maneno ambayo yamenenwa kwa jina lake Mungu. Kabla aenda mwambie Hanania maneno haya. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel says. I'll put an iron yoke on the necks of all these nations to make them serve Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and they will serve him. So why an iron yoke? Hii ambayo nimetengeneza na bao umeweza kuivuja. Sasa sikiza, sitawafunga sasa na kama hiyo, nitawafunga na ile ambayo haiwezi kuvujika. Bwana sifiwe. I'll even give him control over the wild animals. And I explained this. Then the prophet Jeremiah said to Hananiah, the prophet, listen, Hananiah, the Lord has not sent you. But the only reason why Jeremiah is going back and speaking to Hananiah in this way is because the Lord has sent him. Bwana sifiwe. Haendi kujitetea, haendi kujipigania, ni kwa sababu Mungu amemtuma. Listen, Hananiah, the Lord has not sent you. Yet you have persuaded this nation to trust in lies. Therefore, this is what the Lord says. I am about to remove you from the face of the earth. This very year, you are going to die, because you have preached rebellion against the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. That is very important. That Hananiah, I have judged all these other people for disobeying me. But you have not only disobeyed me, you have preached rebellion against me. How have you preached rebellion against me? I have told King Zedekiah and everybody else that submit yourself to Babylon and you will live. You have come and used my name and told these people, don't submit yourself, because in 2 years the yoke is being broken and so you will die. How was that prophecy fulfilled? In the 7th month of that same year, Hananiah the prophet died. Bwana asifiwe. How do you measure true prophecy? And I want to believe the reason why God gave this prophecy against Hananiah and fulfilled it was to compel the people to believe in the prophecy of Jeremiah. Bwana asifiwe. It is like the same, there's this guy at the gate of Samaria. You remember him? This guy who used to, sijui alikuwa anashikilia mfalme, sijui kama mfalme hakuwa na nguvu vizuri. He would be, I think, on the right or the left arm of the king. And prophet Elisha or Elijah comes to him and tells the king, tomorrow, a time like now, a packet of all unga, that whatever they were measuring with, will be costing a shekel or some little money. And this guy says, that cannot happen. Then the prophet tells him, just like Jeremiah told this guy, you will see it, but you will not partake of it. Bwana sifiwe. Because when God prophesies, when God says, this is what I will do, don't try to start and fight against it. What happened? When the 4 reapers went, God can use anyone. The 4 reapers went and there was flour and it costed the same amount. Maybe this guy was among those who walikuwa anataka kwenda kuchukua. Biblia inasema alikanyangwa, akakufa. Bwana asifiwe. Lakini alikufa kwa nini? Alikataa kuamini. Alikataa kuamini maneno ya nabii wa Mungu. Bwana asifiwe. Sasa hapa naye Hanania anakataa kuamini maneno ya nabii wa Mungu, na sio kukataa kuamini peke yake, bali pia anafungua mdomo wake. Na tulinenewa hapa juu ya maneno tunayoyanena. Anafungua mdomo wake kupinga maneno yale yanayonenwa na nabii wa Mungu. Na kwa sababu ya kule kufungua mdomo wake na kunena kinyume na maneno ya nabii wa Mungu, anaambiwa mwaka huu utakufa. Nikifikiri kwa sababu ya ishara mbili. Ya kwanza ni adhabu kwake. Maybe hata ya pili, unajua kuna watu huwa wanafungwa jela na wanaambiwa ya kwamba na iwe funzo kwa wengine wenye tabia kama. Kwa kuna uwezekano Hanania anamalizwa, maana Biblia inasema kulikuwa manabii wengi. Mfalme aliambiwa usiamini hao manabii wengi wanaodanganya. So kuna uwezekano huyu akufe na ili manabii wengine waone haya ni kubaya. And I also say that may have been the reason why even Ananias and Sapphira had to die. So that it's a practical lesson. But number 3, that the prophecy of Jeremiah may be tested. And how do you test prophecy? By its fulfillment. That he said this guy will die this year, na hata mwezi wa 12 haukufika. Mwezi wa 7, the guy died. So the prophecy of Jeremiah is true. We would rather obey and walk in it. Praise the name of the Lord. Don't allow yourself to become the example to be used. Discern the voice of the Lord. Discern the will of the Lord. Subject yourself to the will of the Lord. And after you have subjected yourself to the will of the Lord, then the Lord says he will restore you. Praise the name of the Lord. Amen. That you might be going through a hard time. You might be going through a moment that looks like enslavement in Babylon. But the Lord is saying, I'm working on you. I'm shaping you. And as I shape you, I'm watching over you. Bwana asifiwe. You know, like gold. When gold is going through, I think there's somewhere I was reading that when gold is going through the furnace, it is timed so that it is refined. And if it burns beyond that time, it gets destroyed. And as God refines you as gold, he is watching. Praise the name of the Lord. As you go through the trouble you are going through, the Lord is watching. The Lord is watching. As you go through the challenges you are going through, the Lord is watching. And the moment you have just been refined as pure choice gold, he will get you out of the trouble. Don't try to fight for yourself. Don't try to get out of it prematurely. Let the Lord deal with you until you are well baked. Praise the name of the Lord. May the Lord bless you. So we will end it there for today. And we get to chapter 29, a beautiful, great chapter. And maybe do 30 next Friday. And then after that, we wait for January when we resume. We must finish this book before mid next year. But I want to believe the Lord will bless us as we do that. Bwana asifiwe. Tamuuliza wa sister Mrs. Kenywa atuombe, and then we finish.